I've wanted to get the Timex Digital for quite some time now, just to find out if they offered any significant differences from significantly cheaper Casio alternatives. To give you my quick honest opinion, they technically don't. But let me at least try to give some recommendations why I think you should consider a T80 instead of something like Casio A158, despite costing more than 3 times as much. Looking at current prices on Amazon, the A158 we have here can be had for only $20, while a T80 sells for around $50 to $70, depending on the variant. This leads to the very first point, and perhaps the most significant there is in favor of the Timex: variety. Heading over to their website, you'll find a wide assortment of colors, strap options, and choices for case material as of late within the collection. Adding to that, Timex on occasion comes up with limited releases, which in my opinion, puts a relatively impractical price beyond the question of fans, collectors, or merely someone in the market who may find an association with any specific design. And that explains why I went for this in particular. It instantly reminded me of the means that my dad provided us a living with, designing and creating advertising materials for various clients, with Kodak being one of the most notable. I literally grew up seeing the Kodak color stripes every single day. And if that far impression was nostalgic enough to make me add this watch to my collection, then I'm sure $65 is easily a fair amount for someone who understands what this rainbow on the dial truly stands for. If you've been following this channel, you know that I'm a nerd for bits of history, so let me try to briefly share some really shocking facts that I came across in my research about the origins of the rainbow pride flag. Timestamps are also available in case you wish to skip this part. At least in my part of the world, I really believe that the pride movement was something that didn't exist or was at least inadequately represented until the last decade or so, and that discrimination against members of the LGBT community, while being a long-standing sad reality, was more like an empty case of social bullying rather than something that could have possibly been sanctioned by any standard, let alone by any law. Although various interpretations of the pride symbol can be seen today, I was surprised to learn that the original rainbow flag had very early roots, being designed, crafted, and first flown in 1978, indicating that their fight indeed dates back farther than I thought. Even more shocking was to find out that the flag was meant to replace this as a more positive meaning worldwide mark of gay pride and power. Reclaimed by the movement in the early 70s as a symbol of their fight for liberation, the traumatizing history of the pink triangle brings us all the way back to the Holocaust of the 1930s. Not any different from the Jewish star, the inverted pink triangle was a badge sewn onto the shirts of prisoners as part of an identification scheme adopted within Nazi concentration camps. It would, however, prove to be a badge of shame, putting gay men at the very bottom of a caste composed of who then were believed to be impurities to society, sustaining especially harsh treatment from the guards and fellow prisoners alike. Now that sparked my curiosity over an even broader topic: if homosexuality in general has ever really been punishable by any existing law outside of religion in any part of the world at any given time in history. And what I was about to learn was truly overwhelming. The legal persecution of gay men is suggested as early as 1250 BC in a passage from the ancient legal code of the Middle Assyrian Empire, known as the Assyrian Law. But in a more modern context, it was the Buggery Act of 1533 in England that made sexual relations between men a chartered offense that was punishable by death. Together with the Sharia, a body of Islamic religious law, the Buggery Act being part of the legal code that would be inherited by countries historically under the British Empire, would be the foundation for the present-day criminalization of homosexuality. And as of 2023, that would include 64 countries, of which at least 6 impose capital punishment for the offense. I understand that this topic is quite sensitive, so I apologize if I may have presented inaccuracies or have spoken in any manner that is considered offensive. If so, I'd love to be corrected and further educated. Let me also take the time to ask for your support if you find videos like this interesting. Please give the video a like, leave any comments, share the video, or perhaps consider subscribing to the channel. And finally, back to these watches. The T80 comes in a very impressive case for an entry-level model, but I'd rather put my money on the watch rather than the packaging, so I wouldn't give any point to the Timex here. Seeing both watches, the difference in size is obvious, without any need to put them side by side. In use, the Timex wears taller and longer, with the tip of the lugs almost extending past my 6 1/4 inch wrist. Although the slight difference in weight between the two is imperceptible, I think the smaller Casio fits me better. In addition, the T80 comes with a bracelet, which while not offering any improvement in quality over the one on the Casio, is a bit longer, further making it the better choice for someone with a larger wrist. The display on the T80 is noticeably larger, with proportionally larger digits, but the one on the A158 is more crisp and has better contrast, making it the more legible watch, while the lights are on at least. Both watches have identical functions, but the 4-button layout on the Timex, which is also more clearly labeled, makes it way more intuitive to operate. And finally, the design. While both watches come in a chrome-plated plastic case, the T80 has more rounded facets and edges all over. Even the crystal is curved slightly outward. Some may prefer this, but the more angular design on the Casio speaks more vintage, to my taste at least. But going back to the Timex, I think this watch would pair really well with some colorful rubber straps that would be so perfect for the summer. To wrap up, I still don't think this T80 offers good value at full retail, but I wouldn't deny that the colors currently offered by Timex are way cooler than any vintage Casio either. And if I had to make a practical decision between these two watches all over again, I'd say neither. I'd definitely pick up a Rubik instead, but if I'm allowed to have some fun, it would have to be this one. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.